Hello everyone and welcome to week 5 of the course. This week we will be discussing the work of Professor Rupert Wegeruff and opening up a dialogic space for reflection and agency. So what do we mean by dialogic space? And what is reflection? What is agency? And why are these concepts important? In exploring these ideas, we will talk about how we might use our classrooms to widen and deepen dialogue. We will also consider intercultural dialogue and our role as educators in promoting it. I'll now pass it over to Farah, who will talk a bit more about what we mean by dialogic space.
Here is Rupert Wegeruff's definition of dialogic space. Dialogic space is when two or more voices are held together in the tension of a dialogue. This opens up a space for possible responses. In dialogic space, children and teachers can co-construct new ideas together or stimulate each other to provoke creative and unexpected responses. There is a lot to unpack in this definition. First of all, dialogue needs difference. There needs to be at least two perspectives, as this creates the tension for dialogue to happen. The word tension here is being used in a positive sense. For Wegeruff, talk can be more or less dialogic. The more dialogic it is, the more it is characterized by active listening and the creative emergence of new ideas. This kind of talk will be engaged, responsive, creative, and ultimately open-ended shared inquiry. Wegeruff refers to the Russian thinker Mikhail Bakhtin, who makes a useful distinction between dialogue and conversation. He defines dialogue as a shared inquiry in which each answer produces a further question in a chain of questions and answers. Now, this Bakhtinian idea may help us generate a very different understanding of education. And you might want to think about how this idea might do that and make some notes in your reflective journal. Coming back to difference, Wegeruff identifies two kinds of difference: ordinary difference and constitutive difference. Now, ordinary difference is the difference between two fixed identities, like the difference between a red cup and a blue cup. These two entities don't affect each other. However, constitutive difference is where the difference between two identities helps to define the identities of the two things from within. So, for example, the difference between me and you in a dialogue is at least partly constitutive, because I can't have a me without a you, and you also can't have a you without a me. So it is the difference between us that actually helps to define us. And this is also the case for many concepts that we teach. For example, light and dark, west and east, right and wrong. Learners' awareness of how concepts need each other will help them to appreciate the dialogic nature of our existence. Megan will now explain how a dialogic space allows the opening up of possibilities and creativity.
Thanks, Farah. For learners to actively think, they need to be able to consider possibilities. A dialogic space appears when the classroom ethos allows and encourages a range of possible responses to the same question or talking point. Here, there wouldn't be binary oppositions, but rather there's room for nuances and new possibilities. Such a space also encourages and generates creativity. All ideas will be respected, and learners will be given time to explain and justify their ideas, no matter how unrelated they may at first seem to the topic. Learners may make connections that a teacher has not considered to widen or deepen the dialogue.
In many cultures, knowledge is not just gained through rational inquiry. It also appears through reflection. There are forms of knowledge and learning that require wider skills than those prioritized in most schools and education systems. Dialogue also allows for more sustained deliberation and reflection on a topic. This enables learners to make connections and develop more holistic understandings. For a dialogic space to exist, participants have to feel a sense of agency as they participate in the dialogue. They need to develop the skills to exercise that agency in engaging others respectfully and sincerely. This is true of all dialogic spaces, but especially where there is a greater potential for miscommunication and misunderstanding, such as in intercultural dialogue. Megan will now talk about two projects that are designed to support learners with intercultural dialogue.
In your resources list for this week, there are two websites that we included. They're called Dials and Generation Global. Dials stands for Dialogue and Argumentation for Literacy and Intercultural Learning in Schools, and it offers a really wonderful bank of teacher resources for learners aged 5 to 14 years. They are designed to teach children to be tolerant, empathetic, and inclusive through talking together. And this is done through engaging with picture books and wordless films. And picture books and wordless films allow for engaging with other cultures because they bypass spoken language. Dials also offers a lot of different professional development resources to support teachers in achieving high quality intercultural dialogue in their classrooms. So we do recommend that you please take a look at those and use them. And the other website that we mentioned is Generation Global, and they're a project that facilitates educators and learners from different countries to engage each other in dialogue through video conferences. This project is designed for learners aged 13 to 17 years, and you'll see that they actually also offer professional development and teacher resources as well. So again, please do take a look at those if you can.
As we have seen, dialogic space is a complex concept. This is especially true for intercultural spaces. Some people would argue that these kinds of intercultural projects centre a Western perspective on the world, and they question whether they really allow for critical thinking about global power structures. Now, this opens up debates that we will explore more fully in next week's session on transformative, holistic, and decolonial approaches to dialogue, when we look at the work of Paulo Freire and Ramon Fletcher.
We hope you've enjoyed this week's materials, and we're looking forward to seeing you next week, week 6, our final week of the course.